First question I always ask, want everybody to ask yourself, is lunch even viable where you're at? We're talking about how to build lunch sales. You might be in an area where you can't build lunch sales. May not be possible. So you got to make sure it's even possible before you try growing those lunch sales. So some negative factors that would kind of indicate that maybe lunch isn't for you. Are you a bedroom community where there's really no businesses? Everybody gets up, goes to work, and the entire area where you're at, there's nobody there. So if there's nobody to eat lunch, well, then it's going to be really hard to grow lunch sales. Low income areas too, so it can be hard to build lunch sales as well. If you have a lack of business, lack of industry, lack of retail, kind of what I just mentioned, you need all of those things. Offices, you need lots of people for good lunch sales. You need a lot of people. Some positives that say, will help you, help you decide, yes, I probably should be open for lunch. You have a lot of schools around you. Okay. Industry, factories. Factories are a big, big way to build your lunch sales. Businesses, medical is big. Hospitals, medical parks. And then if you're in an area that has a lot of foot traffic. Where I was at, each one of my locations was different. I was in one of those bedroom communities. My little shop that only had 500-600 people in that town. Everybody went to work and there was nobody left. All right. But when we first opened, the railroad was getting rebuilt. So we had all of Conrail was in there rebuilding the railroad every single day. So we opened for lunch in this little town just for the railroad for about 6 months. And we had $500, $600 a day lunches in this little tiny town. Now, when they went away, our lunches went to like $10 a day. So we got rid of lunches except on Friday and Saturday. And I'll tell you why we kept that in a second. But we didn't have that. Now, in the other two locations, we had everything else. We had schools, we had industry, we had businesses, we had hospitals, we had lots of foot traffic. So our lunches were as big as we wanted to make them. If we put effort into it, we could do $1,000 a day easy in lunch. If we didn't put any effort into it, well, maybe we only did $150 a day in lunch. So anything to add to that?
No, that's perfect.
Okay. So ask yourself too, is it even worth it to do lunches on top of is it viable? Sometimes lunches, because, people don't always, think about, pizza and lunch going together. So sometimes it's just a break even. So, is it worth it? If you're just breaking even, do you want to have, all of that staff? You got more staff you have to keep on, more taxes, more people to manage, more headaches, more problems. There's more hours you have to cover. So when somebody doesn't show up, you got to get somebody to cover that. Unpredictable sales, lunches are always unpredictable. One day, like I mentioned, you might have $150 a day. The next day you might have $1,000. No matter how good your marketing, no matter how good you're doing, it might be $100 one day and $1,000 the next, and it's just so unpredictable. And then it's a high pressure, short time frame. People when they want to eat lunch, they got this really small window. So when you're delivering to somebody, it better be there in 30 minutes or less. If they want it at 11 o'clock, if you get there at 11:05, that's unacceptable. You need it there when they want it. So they say, I need this order at my business at noon. You better be there at 12:55. If you're not there at 12:55, it's not going to work. They have a short time period. People don't have a lot of time for lunch, so you've got to be on your game. So it's a lot of high pressure at lunchtime. Positives of adding lunch, it's kind of, increased sales, increased profit, of course. It may not be as good of profit as dinner time. May look at it and go, you know what, I'm only making at the end of the day maybe an extra couple $100 a week in profit for lunch. Is it worth it? Well, you've got increased exposure. I heard it a lot of times. People didn't even know I existed because they didn't live anywhere near where I was. But when I opened up for lunch, somebody said, hey, let's go check out 600 and get lunch there. It's the name of my one pizzeria. And they come in and eat at lunch, and they're like, I had no idea you guys were here. This is awesome. I'm bringing my family back this weekend. So it's increased exposure for lunch. And I got expanded staff on there as a positive. Usually that's not a positive. With the more people, the more problems. But when you think about it, for me, it was a lot of situations where I needed, think about if you're not open for lunch, you have basically 7 shifts. If you're open 7 days a week, 4 to close, that's like 7 shifts for a manager. All right, so you hire a manager, well, that's 5 shifts. Now you've got 2 more shifts you got to cover. All right, so you you got three, that other guy is going to need 3 more shifts to make a week. So where are you going to fit them in? So if you open for lunch, now you can it allows you to expand your management team. So we opened for lunch. That was now 14 shifts through the week, open 7 days a week. And then evening and lunch was 14 shifts. It allowed us to build a management team of 3 managers. So now it really made it easy for me to step out of the business and focus on the business instead of working in the business, because I could develop a full management team. And then being able to pay for your prep work. So you look at it, you're like, man, we're just barely breaking even, or maybe we're actually losing money at the end of the week for lunch. So you're like, well, is it even worth it? Well, like me, if you don't have lunch, you're bringing your guys in a couple hours before you open to make dough, make sauce, they're slicing vegetables, they're prepping. Well, if you have a slow lunch, well, still you can use that time to offset the labor of the prep work, because they're making dough, they go make a pizza or 2. They make some more dough, make a pizza or 2, and it helps pay for it. So just some, to help some ideas to help you figure out if it's even worth it. You're throwing that thing out and deciding, it's pros and cons. Okay?
Yep.
So 4 critical steps we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about identifying your lunch customer, so you know who to go after. 2, make a plan, and that actually should be step 1 and step 5. And then how do you market to that lunch customer you identified in number 1? And then how do you execute and deliver that? So identifying your lunch customer. Were you going to talk about that?
Yeah,
okay.
I was. So identifying your lunch customer is very, very important. One of the things I did when I first opened up my restaurant, I went outside of it and I just watched the cars going up and down the road. And that's important because I'm looking, hey, do I see suits going up and down the road? Do I see construction guys going up and down the road? Who am I seeing? Once I know that person, then I know how to execute and go figure out how to get my food in front of them. So who is available to eat at lunch? How long of a lunch break do they have? Do they have 30 minutes? Are you in an area where they're blue collars? They have to eat on the go. They got to get back to work. Or white collars typically have an hour lunch break. So they want to come in and sit down. So those are the 2 that I'm really looking for. And then you do have the pink collars, which is all of us the working restaurant guys and the service industry. Do they have time to come to you? Is a huge thing. That determines how fast you need or what style. Are you going to serve slices, set up a buffet? What are you doing? And how they can eat fast and go. Think about, will they have the time to actually sit in and eat with you? These are all little factors, and it seems so easy when we do it every day, but you really have to narrow this down and target the right person. Will you need to deliver to them? Are they, 2-3 miles away where there's a, 300-400 person business, and they only eat at one certain time, so they need food quick, and you might need to take it to them because they don't have time to come get it. Will you need to cater? That is one of the easiest things that we're going to talk about today, is perfecting the catering piece. And if you do figure that you need to cater because of all the different businesses in your area, then you got to perfect that.